The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday. This is Jason Tierney from DS3, and we've got my friend, marketing extraordinaire, sartorial, dapper individual, Marc Fowler, there on the right. And tonight, Marc's going to be sharing a lot with us about dental sleep marketing success and how you can kick your dental sleep practice, your marketing endeavors into overdrive in the new year. So Marc really is an expert in this area, and he's going to impart some of his expertise upon each of you so that you become the resident experts and you can grow the dental sleep portions of your practices. So Marc, without further ado, the floor is yours, my
All
friend.
right. All right. Well, thank you, Jason, and good to be with everyone. Well, as Jason said, we're gonna talk about a program, a plan for positioning you for success in the dental sleep in the sleep portion of your practice. And part of that is if you're really looking to grow sleep practice, you need to position yourself as the expert in the minds of prospective patients. And to do that, I'm convinced that you need a standalone brand for sleep that's separate from your general practice. And there are a few reasons I say that. First, doing so gets patients in a medical versus a dental mindset. You're going to be talking about medical billing, medical deductibles, treating a medical condition. And so you want them thinking along those lines. Also, the concept of case acceptance that's so often talked about in dentistry is really foreign or non-existent in the vocabulary of physicians. If you consider the typical scenario when a patient goes to see their primary care physician, the doctor walks in, asks a couple of questions, quick exam, and then they're writing out instructions. I want you to take 20 milligrams of this. I want you to have these tests done at this lab and come back and see me in 2 weeks. And what do most people do? They do exactly as instructed. And that's the mindset you want them in when they come into your office for a sleep consultation. And then second, you want your website, your website needs to instill confidence and establish you as the authority on the topic. And if your website is trying to be all things to all people, it can have the opposite effect. Let me give you an example. Several months back, I was in the middle of a real estate transaction that became more involved than I was comfortable with. And I decided I needed legal representation. And since I didn't know a real estate attorney, I did what most people do in those types of situations, and I did a Google search. And here are the law firms that came up in that search. And this one, with the arrow there, caught my eye, and probably because it had the 5 stars showing. And their title tag says real estate law, first thing right there. So I clicked on it, and the page, and this is the page that I landed on. And right away, I'm thinking, that's strange that their page about real estate law says employment, litigation, and OSHA defense in the header. So I'm wondering if real estate law is just an afterthought for them. And they're really actually employment lawyers who do a little real estate work on the side. So then I went to their practice areas, essentially their services page, and saw this long laundry list. And I kept scrolling down and scrolling, and finally, almost at the bottom, it mentioned real estate. And I started thinking, all of these other areas of law are so unrelated to real estate, and the laws are so complex for each, it made me wonder how they could possibly be experts in real estate law. And that saying, jack of all trades, master of none, came to mind. So I moved on to another law firm's listing and continued on from there. But let's consider a similar scenario for a patient. let's say they're at the point of seeking treatment for sleep apnea, and they conduct a Google search for sleep apnea treatment near them. And one of the websites that shows up is this dental practice. And they have a page about sleep apnea, but they also have the laundry list of dental services here to the left. And that might start to put some doubts in that patient's mind. So they go on to the next site. And again, a page about sleep apnea. However, that page is buried pretty deep within their website's navigation, as you can see here at the top. And then clicking on their services page, as you see here, they list every procedure they've ever done or even thought about doing, and we're back to the jack of all trades feeling. Just as it was difficult for me to see how labor law related to real estate law, it's equally difficult for a patient, prospective patient, to see how porcelain veneers relate to treating sleep apnea. It's easy for them to make the connection between root canals and crowns, next to impossible for them to make the mental jump from root canals to sleep disordered breathing. And this confusion can occur not only when they're on your website, but also right from the Google search results, when a practice is trying to use a single website to try and reach all types of patients. So, for example, someone in Chicago does a Google search for sleep apnea treatment, and notice the result at the top of this page for Smile On Dental Salon. They talk about sleep apnea, and then they go on to say, we also offer root canal treatments. Now that potential patient may be wondering if they're going to do a root canal as part of the sleep apnea treatment. You know, they're probably already confused enough trying to get their mind around the what and the why of OSA without throwing that curveball at them. So, you know, and then also keep in mind, with traditional dental services, you're only competing for patients' attention with other dentists. With sleep apnea, as you'll see from this example, you're competing with several other healthcare providers. And these are just a few of the results for that came up for that search term, sleep apnea treatment in Houston. You have a local hospital, an ENT, a neurologist, an oral surgeon, an association, and a sleep lab. So you really need to be sure that you aren't putting up any potential hurdles to a patient clicking on your listing. Here are two of the listings that show up for that sleep apnea Houston search. Now, for a typical patient conducting this search, which of these two do you think they'd be more likely to click? SchultzSmiles.com or HoustonSleepSolutions.com? These are both dentists. It's just that Houston Sleep Solutions avoids any potential confusion before they can get them on their website or on the phone and have an opportunity to explain oral appliance therapy and how a dentist can play a part in treating sleep apnea. All right. Jason, did you, did you want to talk about
couple quick housekeeping things. Your CE certificate will arrive via email in the next, it says here, 72 hours. We like to set the expectation and undercommit and overperform, or whatever it is. I'm still thinking about Mark's dapper attire, but you'll receive your email or your CE certificate via email in the next 24 hours, and along with that will be a link to actually register for our next webinar on medical billing. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but please, if you don't receive your CE certificate, check your spam folder. Thanks, Dr. Elikafer. It's under promise, over deliver. But just got a note about that. Check your spam folder, your junk mail. Sometimes it ends up there. And also, for those of you that are on right now and want to reference back to some of this information, in that email will also be a link to view an archived version of this webinar. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, Marc really is an expert in this area, so much so that when he spoke at last year's North American Dental Sleep Medicine Symposium, he received such rave reviews that we invited him back to share his knowledge and experience. So for those of you that are registered for next month's North American Dental Sleep Medicine Symposium in Clearwater, we look forward to seeing you there. You'll have an opportunity to hear from Marc. To any of you that are not registered, we've got a handful of spots remaining. I think we're right around 400 attendees right now. But please go to ds3sleep.com/symposium. You can learn more about all of the topics that will be covered, and you can get registered right there through that link. It'll be a fantastic meeting. A good friend of mine, Dr. Aaron Elliott, who many of you on here know, has lauded it as the best dental sleep medicine meeting ever. Marc, I'm sure you would agree, right?
Without question.
Nudge, nudge.
It is. No, without a doubt. It is by far the most informative and just open sharing of information, real world information of any sleep meeting I've ever attended.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Marc. We really tried with our speakers and the topics that we've lined up to focus on real practical information that practices can truly use. It's not high level, it's not academia, it's really practical information shared by practitioners that are practicing. So look forward to seeing you there, Marc, and for those of you that are on here that are registered, look forward to seeing you there. And for those of you that are on here that aren't registered, I encourage you to get registered. We will sell out this year. And with that said, I'm going to go back and try not to mix my phrases up and work on that and hand it back over to you, Marc.
All right. Okay, well, we'll keep rolling here. So with the idea of not wanting to confuse patients by jumping between dentistry and sleep apnea, with that idea in mind, let's look at how to build a successful sleep marketing program that positions you as the expert and really enables you to be found by prospective patients. And the foundation is your brand. And again, you need a sleep brand that is 100% independent of your restorative practice branding. And we'll look at each of these, but starting with your logo. You want a logo that's clean, easy to read, and has a visual element that supports the fact that you're offering a solution to help people breathe better, sleep better, feel better. And next is a website that is 100% committed to sleep. When a prospective patient lands on your website, studies show that they're forming an impression of your practice within seconds. And so not only does it need to be professional, modern, mobile friendly, all those things, it also needs to give them exactly what they're looking for right away, because people are impatient online. You don't want to make them have to search for the information they're seeking. So in this example, the moment they land, they see snoring affecting your relationships, tired even after a full night's sleep. That's speaking their language, and you're providing what they're looking for right up front. Because when you want your website to make people say, hey, that's me. That's exactly how I feel. That's what I'm experiencing. Professional copywriters call this joining the conversation that's going on in the prospect's mind. Everyone has an internal conversation going on at all times, and that sleep apnea sufferer is going to have a very specific conversation going on. And so you want everything from your imagery to the verbiage to the user experience to join right in on that internal conversation that they're having. And as they scroll down the page, you want it to be informative.
Hey,
Marc. Really has,
Marc, can I ask you a quick question there?
Of course.
Yeah, Dr. Allen submitted a question He asked
Okay.
what your thoughts are regarding having a sleep microsite or a sleep landing page that funnels into the main dental website rather than having an entirely separate website. Any thoughts there?
Mm-hmm. I would say that is one step better than having just a sleep page within your practice website, your restorative practice website. So that's better than that scenario. I would say it's not as from a branding and positioning standpoint, it's not as effective. It wouldn't be as effective as having the full standalone sleep site, because again, you kind of want to almost picture, drawing a line in the sand, and you have your dental world on one side and you have your sleep world on the other, because again, you want them 100% focused on the medical side of things. You don't want them getting confused with, at least initially, once they're in the chair and you've had an opportunity to show them, those appliances and explain it, then it clicks for them. But until that point, you want to keep those as separate as possible, at least from what I've found.
So is it fair to say that we could categorize having sleep information on your dental website as meh, not so great, having a landing page on your dental site focused on a dental sleep specific landing page on your dental site as good, and then a separate website altogether as the ideal? Is that fair?
Yes, I would say it's okay to have a sleep page on your main practice website. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not the first place you want a prospective sleep patient to encounter your practice. So in other words, if for maybe existing patients or someone who's come to your dental practice looking for traditional dental services, it's a good thing that they say, oh, wait, what is the sleep apnea thing? Yeah, I snore. What is that? That's just one more way to gain visibility and to inform. But the ideal for a brand new patient coming in with sleep in mind, you want them to go to that sleep-specific, sleep-only website, not your dental site.
Gotcha.
So just to wrap that thought up, if you do have that page about sleep on your main site, you'd want to link it over to your sleep site where you can give them, more in-depth information about sleep.
Got it. Dr. Allen said that answered his question, so thanks, Mark.
Great. Thank you for that question, Dr. Allen. And so your website really has three main goals, your sleep website. First is to educate. Second is to establish trust. And third is to convert visitors into scheduled appointments, with that third goal being the most important. So you want to get them in the door so you can have that face-to-face and explain and then ultimately treat them. So here on this particular page that we're looking at, they're seeing health issues, comorbidities related to untreated sleep apnea. As they continue down, they see symptoms. Again, you're educating them. You're starting to tie things together. This gets them thinking, hey, that's me. Maybe that's why I've been having those headaches in the morning and been so forgetful. Okay, they continue on and there's an interactive quiz, and they start going through and they're checking these off. Yes, that's me, that's exactly. And now they're fully engaged, and that's what you want. Having a Q&A section can be very helpful. It not only answers their questions and acts as a resource, it also allows you to anticipate possible objections that may prevent them from calling the schedule and enables you to address them right up front. And this is a big one. If you offer home sleep testing, you want to make that prominent on your site. A lot of people aren't willing to go spend the night in a sleep lab. And by letting them know you offer an alternative, you overcome that objection. And everything about this website is designed to convert that visitor into a scheduled appointment, because again, that's ultimately the primary goal of your website. And this website's been leading them down this path. Now you want to bring them full circle and paint the picture of what life could be like and give them hope. Because, talk about the mindset of the OSA sufferer. They're always tired, they're irritable, feel like they're walking around in a fog all the time, they're probably experiencing health issues that doctors can't explain, and they're frustrated. And you can see that first item there under restful sleep, they've either never or at least can't remember what it feels like to wake up feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. And a big part of converting them into scheduled appointments is helping them visualize a positive outcome and painting that picture of hope, because a lot of times they're at a point of feeling hopeless. And again, since you want them to schedule that consultation, you want to let them know exactly what to expect if they do so. Because again, it's all about overcoming objections, fears, any hesitations or doubts, and make it very clear throughout the website that the proper course of action is to schedule that consultation. And the next piece in building a solid sleep brand is a dedicated Facebook page. And there are a few reasons that Facebook is important. Number one, many people use Facebook as a search engine. So you want to have a presence so you can be found when they are searching on Facebook. Also, Facebook pages will often show up in Google searches for various search terms. So and it increases your visibility on Google. And Facebook is one of the 3 most important review sites. Yeah,
Hey,
it's Google.
Mark,
Yep,
just to be
yeah.
sure that I understood what you just said there. So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
a prospective patient and I'm searching for
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, Houston sleep solutions uh,
Mm-hmm.
in Google, I may get
Mm-hmm.
their Facebook page as a result.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, happens all the time. We have several. I can give you several examples of that exact thing happening. Yeah, it may not be the number 1, 2, or 3 listing on the page, but there's several that are on the first page of Google, and it increases. It gives you another spot on that in that prime real estate there on the Google search result page. All right. And then finally, a lot of people just expect legitimate businesses to have a professionally designed and active Facebook presence. And when I say active Facebook presence, don't think you have to post to your Facebook page every day. Once a week, once every other week is fine. You just don't want to go months without any activity. And we really encourage personalized posts. Photos of your team, your patients, community activities you're involved in, things like that. However, we realize that a lot of practices either don't have the time or the desire to do that. So we went ahead and created a social post library, and I'll show you a few samples. Right now we have somewhere north of 400, professionally designed posts. And so the client logs in, searches the topics, finds a post they like, and then it's just copy and paste it into their Facebook page, and some also post it on their Instagram. But just to give you an idea of the types of things you want to post on Facebook, you can, sleep-specific posts like these and these. It can be every holiday. We have 4 or 5 versions to pick from each holiday. Can be posts about just a bunch of those strange national this or that, National Taco, National Donut Day, inspirational quotes, jokes, trivia. You don't want to only post about sleep apnea. You want to mix it up, and that keeps it more interesting and engaging.
Hey,
And
Mark, can I ask you another question
yeah,
while we're talking about Facebook?
sure.
Should a practice have a separate Facebook if they've already have a practice Facebook page, Facebook profile? Should they have a separate one for dental sleep?
Yes.
They should.
Yes, without
Okay.
a doubt. Yes, from a branding perspective, as well as that findability in Google, and then also having the separate Facebook page for sleep enables you to populate it with all of your sleep practice information. So, for example, a link to your sleep site, which is a valuable indicator to Google. So yeah, a variety of reasons to have a separate standalone Facebook page. So before we move on from Facebook, I want to point out an added bonus of establishing a separate sleep practice. So this is a client of ours in Texas. And you'll notice she had a grand opening ribbon cutting with the Chamber of Commerce in September. And with that, she was on the Chamber's website, in their newsletter, in their social media. Over 30 people attended the event, including 2 reporters from local magazines who ended up writing about it. 3 of her patients were there, and they gave testimonials about their experience being treated for sleep, sleep disorder breathing, and they live streamed that on Facebook, as you can see there. And the important thing to point out, and why I put these slides in here, is she had already had a grand opening for her restorative practice several years back. By creating the separate sleep brand, she was able to have another grand opening, ribbon cutting, and get all of that free publicity and exposure, which would not have happened without creating that separate sleep brand. All right, and the final piece of those core foundational online branding is a YouTube channel. After Google, YouTube is the second most popular search engine. As you know, Google owns YouTube, so they tend to give YouTube videos special treatment in their search results. Cisco, the big technology networking company, estimates that by 2021, 82% of all internet traffic will be video. And the practices that embrace this video trend now will have a significant competitive advantage in their markets. And those that don't will be stuck trying to play catch up, because this video thing is here, and it's only going to get bigger according to everything I've read. Jason, why don't I turn it over to you for a minute here?
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Thanks, Mark.
Actually, let me just tee this up for you real quick. One thought I just had. As I talk to practices who are looking to implement sleep and successfully integrate it into their practice, the biggest hurdle, the biggest question I hear is medical billing. So this is such an important topic. I'm sure you hear the same thing, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. I mean, our team fields questions about medical billing and supports practices with medical billing all day, every day. I mean, we're on this marketing webinar tonight, and 2 questions have come through regarding medical billing somehow. It's ubiquitous medical billing. So fortunately, we'll have Dr. Yatros and Dr. Drake there on Tuesday, February 12th, same time, 8 o'clock Eastern, and they'll be providing some tips regarding medical billing specifically for dental sleep. Whether you are currently using a third-party biller, managing medical billing in your practice on your own, or it's just something that you're interested in exploring more, I assure you, by attending this webinar, you'll glean some useful insights, some pearls. Dr. Yatros and Dr. Drake are incredibly knowledgeable, both with very successful dental sleep practices, and what the heck, they own a dental sleep medical billing company. So they're 2 great people to learn from. So a link to register for that webinar will be in that email that you'll receive with your C certificate. So we hope to see all of you on there. It's a hot topic, as Mark mentioned. And then if that's something that you do want to learn more about, dental sleep in general, but in particular medical billing, as well as how to get more patients into that to the point where you have to be concerned about billing, meaning how to screen those patients, identify more of them, how to get them tested efficiently and effectively, how to treat them appropriately, how to document treatment appropriately, and then again, how to bill properly so you're appropriately reimbursed for your life-saving treatment. Then we encourage you to please register for one of our upcoming courses. These courses, we do them all over the country. They are presented by Dr. Yatros, sometimes by Dr. Stacy Lehman, and occasionally by Dr. Richard Drake. Each of these people are essentially what they're going to share with you. They wouldn't be so brash as to say this, but essentially what they're going to say is, I've got a really successful dental sleep practice, and I'm going to teach you exactly how I do it. Replicate what they teach you, and you'll also be successful. So if you want to register for one of these upcoming courses, just type course into the question field there or the chat field, and either Mike or Jody will contact you tomorrow. They'll get you registered. Tuition's typically $995. If you type in course today, they'll contact you tomorrow. You'll save $200, and for that tuition, you get really the most practical, actionable course you're likely to encounter. You get your own appliance. You get your own sleep test. You get to bring a team member for free. 14 hours of CE. It is bonkers. So type in course there. We'll get you registered tomorrow. And then also, I mentioned screening, testing, treating, and billing. For those of you that are DS3 members, you already know this. For those of you that are not, this is really what we do. We provide the education so you and your teams know what you're doing, the coaching so you can incorporate that into your practice in a meaningful, repeatable way, the software to manage those processes, and then the ongoing support. We hold your hand every step of the way so that you can screen, test, treat, and bill. We will be your Sherpas to help guide you through these processes. So a lot of these questions that are coming through that aren't necessarily related to marketing, they're really focused on how to properly manage a consult. Had a question about how to document some of these things. All of that can be done through the DS3 experience. So just type in consult, and either Jody, Mike, or Brandy will give you a call tomorrow. They're not going to give you a hard sell. They're simply going to try to learn more about your practice, your current experiences, some of the hurdles you've encountered, what your goals are, and determine if we can help you, and if so, how. So just type in consult now, and we'll get in touch with you tomorrow. And then the other thing is, Mark is so humble and low key that he hasn't touched on this, but he's going to share with each of you at the end of the webinar a special offer that he's created just for webinar attendees. It is a special offer with that's only available for a limited time, so hang on until the end, and Mark will talk about the webinar extravaganza at the end. So type in consult now, hang on until the end, and Mark will share the webinar extravaganza. And those of you that are typing course, keep it coming. And Mark, I'll hand the baton back off to you. Run, run.
All right. All right. Awesome. All right. So once you have those foundational brand assets in place, next you want to move on to that next level of an effective sleep marketing program, and we'll look at each of these individually. But starting with Google My Business, your Google My Business or GMB listing, right under the ads when you do a Google search is something called the local pack or the map pack, shown here in the red box. And as you can see, there are typically only 3 practices that show up. Sometimes there'll be a 4th, and but that'll be a paid ad. It's the practices who have the most complete, optimized Google business listings that show up organically in this local pack. You have to have an optimized Google business listing to show up there. And in your listing, you want it to be fully optimized. So you want to complete every section, have a well-written description, upload photos or even better videos, and having the listing linked to your sleep website. And you also want a phone number that's separate from your main practice number. That's important. Otherwise, Google will flag it as a duplicate with your main practice Google business listing. And we create a tracking dashboard for each client, and one of the metrics we track is the number of calls and requests for directions from the Google My Business listing. And here are snapshots from last month for a few of our sleep clients, and you can see these clients receive anywhere from 7 to 23 calls from their their sleep Google My Business listing. And these numbers don't include calls that came from their sleep websites. These are strictly from their Google My Business listings. And these are calls they would not have received if they didn't have that separate sleep specific listing. And so a properly optimized Google business listing can be a great source of sleep patients. And while Google is the most important online listing by far, you also want to claim and optimize your other directory listings because they all play a big part in being found by potential patients. In some cases, people search right on that directory's website or within their app, and other times that directory feeds data to a search engine or to other apps. And you really want to be intentional about claiming these directories with your sleep brand information because all of these listings share data with one another. And many of them feed information to key search engines or apps, and ultimately Google uses data from them to help them determine the credibility of businesses. So those are important as well. And next is your online reputation. In a large, often referenced survey by Bright Local, over 8 out of 10 people said they trust reviews from complete strangers on the internet as much as a recommendation from a friend, a family member, a coworker. And so online reviews weigh heavily in consumers' buying decisions, and that includes dentistry, medical, etc. And according to a study by Northwestern University, 82% of consumers will actively seek out negative reviews about a business. And then one final study or survey, 48% of patients said that positive reviews would influence them to go to an out-of-network doctor if their reviews were better than the in-network doctors available to them. So not only do patients seek them out and read them.
Mark, I'm sorry.
So, yes.
Can you just repeat what you said? I think that's crucially important, as many of these the attendees on tonight are out-of-network providers.
Okay. Yeah, this one was interesting. Half of the respondents said that positive reviews for an out-of-network provider would influence them to go to that out-of-network provider, assuming those reviews were better than the in-network doctors they had to choose from. So they aren't just blindly going with, who's in network. They're actually looking at and thinking about and comparing these reviews, these online reputations of the practice.
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you reiterating that.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for asking for that clarification. Because not only do patients seek them out and read them, as we just saw, but patient reviews show up very prominently online. As you can see in the results for that sleep apnea doctor near me search. So which of these 3 listings do you think gets the most clicks out of these 3 here? Okay. Probably Texas Sleep Solutions, right? And you could argue, well, they're in the #1 position, so you'd expect that to be the case. But How about these three? Probably Simple Sleep Services, right? Why? Because they have 170 reviews. Their average star rating is 4.7. Now, Texas Sleep Solutions is still in the #1 position, still has the same star rating. The only thing that changed is Simple Sleep came into the mix. So this illustrates the importance of having a proactive process for not only gathering positive reviews, but also reducing your risk of receiving negative reviews. And let me show you a systematic process that we use to do that, called Reputation Guardian. And it starts with printed, customized review request cards. And this card encourages patients to visit either the review funnel webpage or to scan a QR code and be taken to that page. And we started off, we used to just send the cards out to the practice. So if you do decide to implement a card concept, just know that the feedback we received was it was very hard to get the staff to hand them out. Either they're too busy or just aren't comfortable asking. So we started creating customized stands to place around the office. So that now the staff doesn't have to ask. So a patient scans a QR code or types in that review page address, and they come to a page like this. If they click the thumbs down, a form pops up that essentially says, "We're sorry to hear, we failed to meet your expectations. Will you please tell us about your experience?" And they can tell all about what they're upset about and what's frustrating them, and it gives them an opportunity to vent their frustrations, which is really what they want. Then when they click send, it sends an email to your office or to the practice, and that's the key. It goes to the office, not out on the internet for all the world to see. Then we recommend calling them immediately and doing whatever you can, of course within reason, to remedy the situation so they're satisfied and don't go out and post that negative review on a public website. And that's been very effective at reducing the chance of receiving negative review. Now, if they click the thumbs up, they're taken to a page like this. And we control which review sites show up here and in what order. And you can see it tells them whether they're currently logged in to each of these sites. Then they click on one of those directories and they're taken to the exact location on that directory, so all they have to do is start typing a review. It makes it foolproof and eliminates the risk of them getting frustrated by having to read instructions and search and try to find the right place to leave the review. And then you can have a widget installed on your site, on your website, so the 4- and 5-star reviews are automatically fed to the website. So that provides that social proof that people are looking for, and also just fresh, updated content for the website.
Hey, Mark, we had
Okay.
a question come in just while you're on this topic. Someone asked if Google, in quotation marks, frowns on people screening their reviews.
Yeah, no, there is language in Google that says they don't recommend what's called review gating, but this system is set up to fall within Google's guidelines. So yeah, that's definitely a good point. But we avoid what Google terms review gating, because a lot of these, like for example, a lot of the appointment reminder systems, they send out an email asking for a review, the patient leaves a review, and then you're able to control, do we want that review posted or not? And they only post the 5-star reviews. So I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but there's 287 reviews and they're all 5 stars. That's the type of thing Google frowns upon. When you're sending them to a proprietary system, we're sending them to Google, to Yelp, to Facebook. So we avoid that potential issue. All right. So next is in-office marketing. So an example of this would be posters strategically placed throughout the office. Those are self-explanatory. Just want to prompt patients to ask questions. Same with in-office brochures. Trifold brochures work great. You want to have them placed, around the practice, and they're conversation starters and make it easy for anyone from the front desk to the hygienist to quickly just say, hey, take this quiz. And when the doctor comes in, they can discuss your answers with you. All right. And a final piece here, once your branding and those essential assets are in place, you want to increase visibility so you can easily be found by prospective sleep patients. And I'm going to go kind of quickly because we're coming up on the hour mark, but I'm going to move through these. First, when you do a Google search, this is what the first page of the results look like. You have the green box at the top. Those are the paid ads or pay-per-click. Then you have the red we looked at, the local pack, the map pack, and then in the black box is what's called organic, and that continues down the page. And this is where organic optimization, or some people refer to as SEO, that's where this comes into play. And that's doing the things that Google likes, so they reward you by showing your website in this section. And there are over 200 factors that Google uses to determine which websites to list in the results, and we don't have the time to dig into those, but you know, everything from what's happening in the code of your website to getting other websites to link to your website, a whole host of factors. And then just quickly, we talked about video a little bit earlier. Cisco estimating 82% of internet traffic will be video in a couple of years. Having a video, several studies have found that having video on your website can increase conversion rates by 60%. According to Forbes, video increases the length of time visitors spend on a website by an average of 88%. People are 4 times more likely to watch a video about a product or service than they are to read about it. And there's several types of video you can create. You can create, you know, office tour, meet the doctor, patient testimonials, Q&A style. And once you have that quality video, there's so many ways you can leverage it. Your website, on landing pages, post it in your social media, in your directory listings. You can have it looping in the waiting room, optimizing your YouTube channel. And then there are a variety of both paid and organic video marketing strategies that you can use to get your video in front of prospective patients. And that video is going to be much more engaging to them than just written text. So I really encourage you to leverage video moving forward.
And Mark, is that something where Mark, is that something where a practice should bring in a videographer and have a professionally shot video, or is that something where they can just pull out their cell phone and film a patient testimonial? What do you advise?
Yeah, for certain things, it's kind of there's different expectations. If it's a practice tour, you know, hey, let me show you our practice and meet the doctor. You want that to be pretty polished. You know, the right lighting, the right sound, good quality video, all of that. If it's just grabbing a quick soundbite from a patient saying, hey, this was great, this is, you know, exceeding my expectations, etc., that's fine to grab on a mobile phone. But I wouldn't recommend, you know, an office tour style video shot on a mobile phone, because the sound and the video quality and the lighting is going to be poor, and people expect a little bit more from that type of video. All right, well, I'll tell you what, out of respect for everyone's time, I'm going to skip through Facebook. You know, there's the 2 big players in online advertising, digital advertising, are Facebook. Ton of targeting available through Facebook. You can have still or video ads running on Facebook. If you're running video ads, you want to have captioning, because 80% of Facebook videos watched without sound. And then Google ads, obviously they're the biggest, most profitable advertising platform there is. And there's 2 types of Google ads. You have search ads, like we looked at before, at the top of a Google search result page. When somebody types in a search, those ads are shown. Then you have the Google Display Network, and those can show up on over 2 million websites that Google has relationships with. For example, someone near your office could be on usatoday.com, and there's your ad. Okay, so that's a display ad. They didn't do a search; that ad just showed up. All right, so let's take a minute, and if anyone who wants to stay, we're at the hour mark. But I'd be happy to answer any questions. And then, as Jason said, I think we had a couple of things to wrap up with.
Yeah, Mark, there were a few questions. I mean, you talked just a moment ago about Facebook again, but there was a question about what other social media platforms other than just YouTube and Facebook a practice should be using.
Yeah, well, it comes down to resources, right? Time and money. For most practices, both of those are limited resources, right? There's some limitation, and so given that fact, I would recommend zeroing in on YouTube and Facebook. If you have the time and the finances to go beyond that, then you can set up, maybe have an Instagram page. I wouldn't recommend Twitter. I've just over the years never seen it really any return on investment for many practices utilizing Twitter. But I would really focus on your website, your directory listings, your Facebook, your YouTube channel. Those are the big ones that are going to give you the best return on time and investment.
Well, that's just one more reason I avoid Twitter. So thanks, Mark. Another question that was alluded to here, and you and I have both received questions like this many times from dentists about getting to being featured on the first page of Google search results. So I'm sure you've heard this. I've heard this several times. When speaking with dentists that have questions, they're vetting different marketing companies, different media companies, and some company will guarantee a practice that in a certain amount of time, some arbitrary period of time, they can guarantee they'll get them on the first page of Google. Without you throwing any of your competitors, your peers under the bus, what would you say to that?
Well, first, Google flat out says if a marketing company ever promises you that type of thing, run, because no one can promise that. Google changes their algorithm over 400 times a year. So no one can keep up with it. No one knows what they're going to do next. Even 12, 13 years ago, when we could throw up a video and throw some links at it and do a little optimization and get it ranking on the first page within 45 minutes, even then I didn't promise first page placement, because tomorrow that could have changed, and it did. It's infinitely more difficult now, but no, you really, the whole SEO and getting the organic visibility, that needs to be thought of as a marathon rather than a sprint. That's a long term, just several things working together, and the real advantage is the advantage of that approach over paid advertising is, even once you stop doing that actively, you're going to benefit from it for years. There's a residual benefit of all of that organic activity, doing the right things on your website, getting video posted, all of those things, having a good, strong Google My Business listing. Whereas with advertising, the second you stop paying Google or stop paying Facebook, you disappear, and it's like you never existed.
Gotcha. And another question, Mark, we talked about Facebook, we talked about Twitter, Instagram. There was a question about the validity of the benefit of using LinkedIn to get to create relationships, potentially referral relationships with primary care physicians or other potential medical referral sources. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, that really be, obviously LinkedIn is a B2B, business to business network. So it's not something you want to spend time on trying to get patients direct to patient. Whether it could be beneficial for forming physician relationships, honestly, I don't know. I think it would absolutely have to be supplemented with in-person meetings. But physician referral type marketing, that's not my area of focus. We focus really on the direct to patient. So
Okay.
I'm not the best one to speak to that.
Gotcha. Another question, Mark. Someone brought up that with all of the negative publicity that Facebook's received in the last 6 months,
Yes.
are they going to be dethroned as the de facto kings of social media and potential direct-to-patient marketing anytime soon? Is there someone else on in the waiting to take their place?
Well, Google's trying. Google's rolling out a new messaging function and several other features, but really there is no one that's poised to step in and take over. Take the reins from Facebook as the king of social at the moment. Obviously, that could change. I'm sure there's several companies that are working on that as we speak. But I think the scrutiny. I know the scrutiny on the whole privacy issue and sharing data and all of those things is going to intensify this year tremendously for Facebook, for Google, for Amazon, you name it. So yeah, there will definitely be changes in that regard.
Gotcha. And Mark, I've got one more question. Fortunately, our team, Jody and I think even Dr. Yatros, Lisa, everyone's been answering questions in real time here. So we've gotten most of them answered. I think I know the answer to this question, but I'll ask you anyway. When branding the practice and creating the separate website, should the sleep practice name be significantly different from that of the restorative dental practice name? Meaning, if I've got Park Place Dental, should I have Park Place Sleep, or should I go with Park Place Dental and Manhattan Sleep?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. I think if you have a strong brand for your restorative practice, maybe you're in a small town, everybody knows that brand, then it might be beneficial to have the carryover. I definitely would not recommend having dental or dentistry in the sleep name of the sleep practice. So you don't want Manhattan Dental Sleep Services, because for the reasons I talked about at the beginning. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with having it, having the general practice name in there in some way.
Okay. Well, it looks like, I know we're running real close to the hour here, so and it looks like we've answered all of the questions. Any other questions that any of you have that you haven't typed in yet, you can still type it in the question field, and when we wrap up at the hour, those of you that have to go, feel free to jump off, but those of you that are here, feel free to stay on, and we'll get Mark to answer as many of those as possible. This is last chance to type consult if you're interested in how DS3 might be able to help you overcome some of the barriers you've encountered, whether it's how to screen and get more patients into your dental sleep funnel. You can potentially help those people in a more comprehensive fashion, how to get them tested to streamline that process, treated appropriately with the right devices for the right patients, mitigating side effects, the software to manage those processes, and then really the ongoing support. I mean, one of our DS3 members that's on here said earlier when I shared what we do, providing the education, coaching, software support, holding hands. They mentioned that that was spot on. That's really what we do. We help practices that are committed. We give them the resources, the education, the support, everything that they need to manage their patient flow properly and efficiently. So if that's something you're interested in, type consult, and Jody, Mike, or Brandy will give you a call tomorrow. They won't force anything on you. They're just they'll ask you some questions, explore with you a little more about where you're at, where you want to be, what's standing in the way, and determine how we may be able to help you. So type consult, and they'll get in touch with you tomorrow. And then Mark, I've been talking about the webinar extravaganza. So can you share a little bit about the special offer that you and Bullseye have put together for everybody tonight?
Yeah. It really came down to, we've talked to so many practices that are just getting started with sleep, and they're not at the point where they want to start spending a lot of money driving traffic, but they understand the importance of establishing a separate sleep brand and having an online presence. So based on the feedback and the requests that we had, we just launched a turnkey sleep branding package. And it includes a domain name, building and designing a website, hosting the website, optimizing it for Google, a logo, branded custom Facebook page, and a branded YouTube channel, as well as a branded YouTube video to place on the channel and get that started. And our goal was to create the most cost-effective way possible to get a practice up and running with a complete professional-looking sleep brand. And according to all the feedback that we've received, we priced it in a way that accomplishes that goal. We didn't want to have any setup fees, so that there are no setup fees. We basically waived all those. There's no contract. And with this, market exclusivity is on a first-come, first-served basis. We even have a lot of, we bought several months ago, we saw a lot of the best sleep domains being snatched up. So we went out and bought a ton of domains. So we have some really good, really strong, easy to spell, easy to remember domains that we can even plug in. But because of that, there is some exclusivity. And if you'd like to see if your market is available, if you're interested in just learning more about that, you can email me at Mark@Bullseye Dental, and just let me know your city and state, and I'll check availability and then get back to you and let you know if it's still available. And I can also send you some additional information on the program. And if you want to talk about anything else sleep marketing related, you can schedule time on my calendar at dentalsleepmarketing.com, and be happy to spend some time with you and just answer questions or look at your market specifically and give you some suggestions. So either like I say, if you'd like to find out if your market's available for that branding package, just send me an email and be sure and let me know your city and state, and I'll get back to you and let you know if that's still available.
So Mark, I just want to be sure that I understand. So for no setup fee and $299 a month, a practice can have a geo-specific domain name, a custom dental sleep website, a logo, their own dedicated dental sleep Facebook page, and their own dedicated dental sleep YouTube channel. Is that correct?
Correct. That's right. Yeah, and that also includes the optimization of the website, as well as the ongoing maintenance and changes and updates and all of those good things.
So you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting, a lot of the really hard part is getting all of this started and getting all this put together, and your team is really doing that for them for just $2.99 a month with no setup fee.
Right, right. Yep. I had talked to a practice out on the West Coast, and we had been talking for, oh gosh, since last June, I think it was. And she was just struggling. She had hired a designer, and then they disappeared, so she couldn't get the first draft. Then she finally got it, and then she sent it to us, and we were trying to tweak the logo, and then she was trying to, going back and forth on domain names and couldn't find one, and they were all taken. And I thought, gosh, it's got to be, it's got to be easier. Man, somehow we can make this easier, an easier process. And so that's what kind of triggered the thought of creating this, because again, this is what a lot of practices want. They want to get that presence, they want to get the brand established, but they're not at a point to go full scale marketing program yet.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I mean, it's really an amazing value. And Mark, at DS3, anytime we partner with an organization, we really do a lot of vetting, because it's so important to us that when we expose a company to our members, to dentists on our behalf, that they can deliver on their results, or on their brand promises. And every experience that our members have had with the Bullseye team has been top notch. Incredible feedback from our members about your services, and this really, it's a wonderful value. So thanks for sharing your expertise, for your time, and thanks to everyone that's on here tonight for all of your questions. We had a lot of them, and hope to see all of you at next month's webinar on medical billing with Dr. Yatros and Dr. Drake. That email, or that link to register for that email, will be with your CE certificate email that you'll receive tomorrow. And Mark, really, thank you so much. Thanks to all of you, and have a fantastic night and a successful, productive 2019. Let's make it happen, Mark. High
Well, thank you.
fives.
All right. Thank you for having me, and thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.